I told you to bring another round or call your manager, Lucas said. Sir, I brought the bill for your previous drinks. When you moved tables, I had to start a new tab. Lucas took a deep breath and said, Listen, just bring me another round of tequilas, and please don't test my patience. One moment, sir, I'll get the manager, the waiter replied. Lucas, a college dropout, was enjoying himself at a bar. He had already drunk too much, but wanted to impress the girls around him that night, especially hoping to win Sophia's heart. Loud music played, and the girls danced on the dance floor. Lucas struggled to stay steady as he tried to join them. After several failed attempts, he gave up and returned to the couch. 10 minutes later, the waiter came back with a tray of tequilas, the manager following closely behind. Seeing that Lucas was almost asleep, the manager stopped the waiter. I think he's had enough, the manager said. Shortly after, the girls returned to their seats, tired. They laughed when they saw Lucas nearly passed out. Hey, Lucas, I thought you said you could last longer than this. How do you plan to impress me? Sophia laughed as she nudged Lucas to wake him up. Groggy, Lucas stood up and shouted, Another round for us. The girls burst into laughter again. Besides the security and staff members, there were also another person who didn't seem to belong at the bar, was Mrs. Mariana. She had been sitting in the same spot for over 2 hours. When asked if she wanted a drink, Mariana replied that a glass of orange juice would be enough. Among the younger visitors, she seemed out of place and drew people's attention. Sitting at the bar, a group of college students stumbled near her. A young man, clearly having had too much to drink, noticed Mariana and was surprised. Turning to his friends, he mumbled, Whose mum is that? Shouldn't she be babysitting her grandkids or something? Mariana didn't hear him, but smiled politely at others around her. After they moved on, for the first time that night, Mariana looked up and smiled, appreciating the bar's ambience. You're right, I'm not here to have fun, although if it weren't for the loud music, I might come here more often. I know I may sound like an overprotective mom, but I'm here to look after my son. He's all I have, and I don't want him to get into trouble. Mariana glanced toward the table where Lucas and the girls were sitting. That's very kind of you, ma'am. Not many mothers would do that, someone said. I know, but he's out of control, and I'm afraid he might get into a fight and get hurt. Meanwhile, Lucas went to the bathroom, washed his face and felt slightly. Feeling slightly refreshed, he returned to the table and said to the girls, Let's go to a nightclub. There's a new one downtown and it's a cool place. Let's hurry. Lucas bent down to grab his phone and car keys from the glass table. One of the girls, who still seemed to have some sense, said, I don't mind going to the club, but we need to call a taxi. I'm not getting in your car, Lucas. Sorry. Lucas felt hurt by what Larissa said. You think I can't drive? If you're scared, go by taxi. I'll drive my car. At that moment, a familiar voice came from behind Lucas. Honey, please take a taxi. Mariana loved Lucas very much, but could be strict at times, especially when he was drunk. Lucas didn't want to lose face in front of Sophia, who saw him as strong and independent. This situation was undermining his partly fabricated image. He stood up and turned around. Hey, Mom, what are you doing here? Since he started seeing himself as an adult and cool, he had developed the habit of calling her Mom. Especially in public lately, Mariana thought Lucas was becoming more like his father, Carlos, who was lazy and liked to sit around doing nothing. When Lucas was 5, Mariana couldn't stand Carlos's inactivity anymore and kicked him out of the house. Lucas had a deep feeling that his mother was the reason why he grew up without a father. He always seemed to act out as if he were punishing her because of his dad. Once, after yet another argument, Lucas told his mother that if his father had been around, he wouldn't have felt so lonely growing up. Mariana was deeply hurt by this. After all, she wanted the best for her son. However, Lucas preferred to play the victim instead of trying to understand the situation. Son, if you think you're lonely, I kicked your father out because he never tried to find you. He never came looking for you because I told him to never show up at our door again. That's why, Lucas shouted before running out. After that argument, Mariana realized Lucas wasn't ready to learn the truth. He was still just a child. Mariana's ex-husband, Carlos, never wanted a relationship in the first place. He wasn't lost in life. He simply didn't want to take action. He spent his days watching TV, drinking beer, and hanging out with friends in bars, while Mariana took care of little Lucas and worked as a truck dispatcher from home. She supported the family, but even after 5 years, Carlos hadn't changed. Before kicking him out, Mariana asked Carlos if he wanted to continue living that way, but he was content with his life. "Hand over the keys, please," Mariana asked, looking into her son's pleading eyes. She could see he was begging her not to do this right there in the bar, in front of his friends. Mariana loved Lucas deeply and knew she had spoiled him, but also knew there wasn't much she could do about it now. "Mom, go home. It's okay." Lucas's voice grew increasingly irritated. "I'll leave only after ensuring my son is safe and not driving drunk." Lucas noticed Sophia, the girl he was trying to impress, smirking at the scene. Furious, he yelled at Mariana, "Why are you always following me? Why are you constantly on my back? I'm tired of you." Lucas stormed out of the bar and headed to his car. A gift from his mother for his 18th birthday. Mariana ran after him. She saw him get into the car but couldn't stop him from starting the engine. However, she managed to run and jump into the passenger seat. Ignoring Mariana's pleas, Lucas sped off, driving recklessly down the highway. "Everyone has normal moms, but you're the weird one," Lucas shouted. "Lucas, stop the car. You're drunk. Please stop, you're going to hit someone." "Get out. I don't want to see you anymore. I'm tired of looking at your face," Lucas yelled while weaving between cars. Mariana's thoughts froze. Her son's words hit her like a ton of bricks. Maybe it was time to let him go and not worry about what would happen to him. Lucas had turned 21 just a week ago, and Mariana believed that Lucas was old enough to be responsible for his actions. Just as she was about to calmly ask Lucas to stop, they heard a loud crash. Lucas stopped the car immediately, suddenly sober. "Mom, I think I hit someone," he said. Mariana screamed and got out of the car. An elderly man was lying on the ground. Lucas had struck him with the bumper while trying to make a right turn at an intersection. The man's condition was clearly severe, and there was little that could be done to help him. Mariana called emergency services. "Mom, what are we going to do now?" "We can't do much," Lucas said, as the distant siren signaled that the ambulance and police were on their way. Lucas looked at his mother strangely. "Mom, can you get my cigarettes? They should be in the glove compartment." Mariana approached the car, her mind in a fog, unsure of what to do. She sat in the driver's seat and searched for the pack of cigarettes. She couldn't find them. As she leaned over to look under the seat and in the glove compartment, the police and ambulance arrived. The 2 officers approached the man, while the paramedics confirmed he wasn't breathing. They then walked toward the car and stopped in front of Mariana. "She'll likely be charged with reckless driving," one officer said to the other. "What do you mean by that?" Mariana looked at her son in surprise, as Lucas was already explaining the situation to the 3rd officer. Despite his mother's reckless driving and her repeated attempts to stop, Lucas admitted he was driving initially, but claimed that his mother had ordered him to pull over and they had swapped places. "It's my car, but like I said, I told my mom to pay attention and look ahead. I don't think she even noticed the elderly man, because she was driving like a maniac," Lucas said. "What are you talking about, Lucas?" Mariana raised her eyebrows. "Shut up." He simply smiled sadly. "I'm sorry, Mom." Mariana faced a choice, but knew what Lucas was doing. He was relying on her to take the blame. She could have told the police that her son was lying and that he had been driving the entire time. But she couldn't bring herself to say that. She accepted the reality in silence. It was a strange form of maternal love. Mariana never expected to endure so much pain just because she wanted to protect her son. She sat on the ground and cried as Lucas continued detailing what had happened. Exhausted and too weak to resist, she let go and prepared to face her fate. She signed all the necessary papers, was taken into custody, and did not resist. "I've never seen someone so calm in a situation like this, ma'am." "Thank you for your cooperation," said the surprised officer. "The court will take your cooperation into account." Then came the trial. Mariana didn't even look up as it began. Lucas testified against his own mother, feeling a sense of relief for avoiding prison himself. Mariana was sentenced to 7 years in prison for reckless driving that resulted in the pedestrian's death. When she heard the verdict, she felt utterly devastated, as if a fog had descended over her and all she could hear were muffled voices. She had never felt so empty inside. 2 years passed, and Lucas had not visited his mother even once. Mariana had long given up expecting him. She decided she no longer had a son. At Mariana's request, her friend sold the dispatch business. Part of the money was given to the victim's family as compensation, and the remainder was deposited in Mariana's name at the bank. Paula was the only person who not only visited Mariana in prison, but was also outraged that she was still in the general population, despite her deteriorating health. Mariana had fallen into obscurity and no longer cared about anything. She spent her early days in prison wondering why she had to endure all of this, and at times wished she could die and disappear forever. After several visits and hours spent discussing what had happened, Paula was heartbroken to realize that Mariana had gone to prison to protect her son. As she learned more about Lucas and Mariana's relationship, she became increasingly outraged, even without full knowledge of the circumstances. Behind the scenes, a special process was unfolding for Mariana. Paula worked tirelessly to revive the case and restore justice. Ironically, she discovered this and reached out to Ricardo, the lawyer. One day, Paula visited Mariana with Ricardo by her side. Mariana was intrigued to see Ricardo. Paula began explaining to her friend what had happened in recent months. "This is simply wrong. I'm going to get you out of here. I don't care if he's your son or who he is. This isn't right." Mariana looked at Ricardo. "It's good to see you again. This time I'm on your side. I've reviewed your case and I think we can get you out of here." "And then what?" Mariana responded with an indifferent tone. "I've lost everything. My business is gone and people think I'm a criminal. Should I walk around claiming that I was unjustly imprisoned and that my son should be behind bars? Why would I want a life like that?" Ricardo struggled to find an adequate response. "Well, yes, it's freedom, but freedom can sometimes be much worse than life here. You see, we can't undo the past. Things will never go back to the way they were. They might even get worse." However, Ricardo turned out to be different from what Mariana had expected. He began visiting her more frequently than she anticipated, and eventually, she even started to look forward to his visits. During this time, Lucas had won Sophia's heart, and they had been living together for several years. Despite not hearing from his mother, the fact that Lucas still couldn't access her account occasionally bothered him. "But it's not your money, Lucas," Sophia would say. "Please, Sophia, 7 years in prison is no joke. She must have changed. I haven't heard from her in so long that she might not even be alive. My mother loved me so much, she would have given me all her money. You'll see. By the way, I never understood how she convinced you to sit in the passenger seat when you left the bar like a rocket." Sophia believed him, and Lucas wiped the sweat from his brow. If she found out the truth, she would leave him in an instant. And that was something Lucas couldn't allow. He waited a few more months before addressing the inheritance. Recently, Lucas found Paula, his mother's friend and former assistant. Although Paula had been the company's vice president, she intended to ignore Lucas and move on with her life. However, it was Lucas who approached her. "Hey, Paula, have you heard anything about my mother?" "Why are you asking about her all of a sudden?" Paula replied with a sidelong smile. "Well, she should have been released by now. Her sentence is over. I'm just concerned because, after all, it's a prison. People can die in there." Lucas tried to stay composed, but his heart pounded in his chest, fearing the truth. "People die, you say? Is that what you're expecting? Well, you can consider her dead already and out of your life forever." "What do you mean by consider her dead? Can you explain in simpler terms?" "Sure. What I'm trying to say is that you're a complete jerk and an absolute idiot," Paula said before turning her back and walking away. Her heart raced, and she barely restrained herself from saying even worse things to him. However, she didn't want to get worked up over someone she felt didn't deserve her attention. Meanwhile, a broad smile spread across Lucas's face. He had heard exactly what he needed from Paula and knew he could finalize everything soon. He needed to start the inheritance process. Lucas genuinely believed that his mother was either seriously ill or already dead. He relied on his lawyers for this. Arriving home, excited, he told Sophia that they would soon be taking a trip abroad, as he had promised. Sophia responded coolly when she heard Lucas's words. "Seriously, you're not late, but you're also not exactly on time. I was starting to get disappointed with you. We've been out of money for a while, and you haven't done anything. I'm doing everything I can. I found the lawyer and soon I'll have everything sorted," Lucas said. Sophia looked at him with bright eyes and asked, "Is she dead?" "You won't believe it, but my mother's friend said that she's gone. That's what I'm talking about, dear." A month later, the lawyer invited Lucas to his office. As Lucas began to dress, Sophia said, "I'm coming with you, dear. I want to hear it with my own ears. I can't believe my dreams are finally coming true." Moved by her excitement, Sophia expressed her enthusiasm. Lucas felt like a real man, ready to fulfill any wish of his girlfriend. He even put on a suit for the occasion. Sophia looked at him and said, "Dear, you're so cold. Your mother has died, and you're dressed as if it's a celebration or something." "It's her fault," Lucas replied. "I don't want to waste my time mourning. I just want to enjoy life." "I think you're right. You'll have to live with the label of having a mother who killed a pedestrian," Sophia said. "Exactly. And this life is compensation for my suffering," Lucas responded. Trying to cut off the uncomfortable conversation, Lucas urged Sophia to hurry, and they drove to the lawyer's office. Lucas was surprised to see Paula there as well. He felt irritated at her presence, briefly wondering if his mother might have left something to this woman in her will. However, the situation turned out to be much more intriguing than Lucas expected. He had anticipated receiving all the paperwork, but the lawyer intervened before announcing anything. "I want you to know that..." As he watched a short video, Lucas, visibly annoyed, asked, "Can we skip this part?" "Unfortunately, your mother requested that you watch the video first," the lawyer said. Everyone focused their attention on the screen where Mariana appeared, alive and well, holding a baby in her arms. She was smiling. "She's alive?" Lucas asked, but no one responded. In the video, Mariana wished Lucas happiness. She acknowledged that he was now an adult, living on his own just as he wanted. At the end of the video, she advised him to be honest with himself and never disappoint those around him. "Lucas, my son, you wanted nothing to do with me, even after I served your sentence in prison. If you don't want to see me, then there was no reason for you to use my money, so I withdrew everything from the account. But don't worry, I'm leaving you a one-bedroom apartment in the city. Good luck, son." When the video ended, Lucas cried like a wounded animal. Sophia left the room without giving him a glance. Paula was upset with Mariana because even in these circumstances, she still acted like a true mother, leaving something for her son. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Mariana was sitting with someone who genuinely valued and loved her new boyfriend, Ricardo. During the evidence collection process, Ricardo was amazed by Mariana's big heart. As Mariana and Ricardo gathered all the evidence and prepared to announce a new trial, Mariana intervened with the remaining time before her release. She still didn't want to hurt her son. Ricardo considered the situation and suggested that she let Lucas go, making him accountable for his own actions. After much debate, they agreed to leave Lucas alone and never return to him. At Ricardo's request, Ricardo, who was single after a failed marriage with his ex-wife, who had cheated on him with a client, also a lawyer, decided to pursue a relationship with Mariana. After her release, they met, and Ricardo courted her. They eventually grew close and chose to live together. A year later, they had a daughter. Despite everything that had happened, Mariana felt happy and grateful for her current life. The corridor of the Department of Motor Vehicles was stifling and crowded, with visibly irritated people waiting for a long time. The air conditioning was malfunctioning, leaving everyone suffering from the lack of fresh air as they fanned themselves with hats and folders. A young security guard attended to the crowd with a disinterested expression, noting that the people in the room seemed to have been there for years. The same elderly migrants in dirty work clothes and nervous young mothers with crying children were present, their faces showing exhaustion and weariness. In that ordinary town, nothing was particularly noteworthy, but the security guard's attention was drawn to a tall, broad-shouldered older man in worn clothing. The man, wearing a faded blue jacket, stood out in the crowd. Although his jacket was similar in style to those worn by soldiers, he lacked the polished and well-maintained appearance of a Navy veteran. Instead, he looked disheveled and somewhat intimidating. Half of his face was covered by a large burn scar, and his hands, which he kept hidden in his pockets, were equally disfigured. He towered over the others in the corridor, appearing out of place and anxious as he kept glancing at the clock, aware that the Department of Motor Vehicles was about to close for lunch. The security guard had a smile on his face when he told the man, "It looks like you won't be able to get your appointment today, old-timer." Renata and Patricia, the middle-aged women working at the DMV, were tired of dealing with the long lines of hopeful visitors. They had become arrogant and only seemed interested if visitors brought them money or expensive gifts. There was also a new employee working in the office. The young attendant, Mariana, was different from the others. Renata and Patricia, her colleagues, were middle-aged women working at the DMV. Mariana, a recent graduate from an orphanage, had no significant wealth and refused to accept bribes. She worked diligently, inspired by her beloved teacher, Mrs. Oliveira, who had taken her in like a mother. Renata and Patricia were pleased to have an honest orphan working in the department, though they took advantage of Mariana's willingness to work. They frequently left her with the bulk of the tasks, allowing themselves to relax, read magazines, or go shopping during lunch breaks, often returning late to the office. They enjoyed gossiping and mocking Mariana's appearance, unwilling to admit that she was far more attractive than they were, despite her modest clothing and minimal makeup. Instead of addressing their own shortcomings and improving themselves, Renata and Patricia preferred to spread rumors and speak ill of Mariana. They found Mariana's hard-working demeanor monotonous and ridiculed her personal life, nicknaming her the Bird. With only 10 minutes left before the lunch break, Renata and Patricia gathered their expensive handbags with impassive expressions and left the office with a semblance of dignity. The burned man was surprised and said, "Ladies, please don't go. I've been waiting in line since this morning." Renata and Patricia ignored his plea and didn't even glance at him. The man continued, his voice filled with desperation. Please, understand. I've come from far away from my village. My bus leaves in 30 minutes and it's the last one of the day. I just need to update my photo on my driver's license. Please. Irritated, Renata replied, "Listen, old man, there are too many of you here and we are only 3. Come back after lunch." The man begged again. "Please, I can't come back after lunch. My mother is waiting at home. She has a heart condition. You need to understand." The man tried to plead with the irritated DMV clerks, but they didn't listen. Patricia's face twisted with disgust as she shouted, "Security, get this man out of here immediately." The security guard, who had been dozing, quickly woke up and followed Patricia's orders. Without a second thought and fearing for his job, he pushed the man out of the room, not wanting to lose his job and face his wife's disappointment. The guard pushed the man outside and locked the door with a key. When Mariana heard the commotion, she ran to see what was happening and tried to catch up with the man, but Renata stopped her with a sarcastic smile. Renata's face showed a sarcastic smile as she told Mariana, "If you help every customer like this, you'll never finish all the work. One person helping everyone will only slow things down." But Mariana ignored her and called out to the man. He turned to her with hopeful eyes. When Mariana saw the burn scar on his face, she hesitated but quickly composed herself and said, "Please, go back to the office. I will take care of everything and you'll make your bus in time." As Mariana worked on the man's paperwork, he sat hunched in a chair, staring blankly at a spot. "There's no justice in this world," he murmured. "Why did I risk my life for them?" Mariana handed the completed document to the man, who was still visibly upset. "Here it is, please," she said, "and I'm sorry for what my colleague said. The job is stressful, and they are exhausted. Unfortunately, that's how it is in the office sometimes." The man with the burn scars thanked Mariana and wished her well before leaving the office. An hour later, Renata and Patricia returned from their lunch break to be met with irritated glances from people in the line. "The girl is working alone while they just wander around," someone in the crowd remarked. The frustration of the people echoed in the murmurs, with others agreeing, "We can't let this go." "We should file a complaint," someone sighed sadly. "What good would that do? They'd just be fired and replaced by others. It's better to just give them money and let them choke on it." The day went on as usual. In the evening, Renata and Patricia laughed and mocked Mariana. "We've never seen such a fool, and you'll be the first. That man lied to you, got help out of pity, and you were deceived." However, Mariana paid no attention to her colleague's words and quickly went home to her beloved cat. Simba, probably bored, had scratched the wallpaper again, thought Mariana with a smile as she skipped across the pavement. A few days later, the authorities visited the Department of Motor Vehicles. The security guard perked up at the sight of Mayor Antonio Barros exiting his car with his entourage. Mayor Barros strode confidently down the narrow hallway, firmly gripping the doorknob. "Who's busy? There's no need to wander around without an appointment." Renata and Patricia were frozen, unable to speak, their coffee cups trembling in their ring-adorned hands. Mariana watched with interest as the imposing chief exclaimed, "What kind of nonsense is going on here? Just the other day, a respected citizen of our city and war hero, João Ferreira, came here, and you—" Renata and Patricia tried to defend themselves, blinking their eyes, but the mayor was not interested in listening. It turns out that the hero missed the bus and, in desperation, decided to walk, hoping to catch a ride. An expensive SUV stopped in front of João, and the driver, who was none other than the mayor himself, recognized the honorable citizen and felt it was his duty to give him a ride to his destination. João Ferreira, a submariner in the Navy, had served on a nuclear submarine for many years. One day, a terrible fire broke out on the ship, threatening to become a large-scale disaster that could destroy dozens of lives and cause irreparable environmental damage. After extinguishing the fire, Mr. Ferreira suffered severe burns and became incapacitated. João was discharged from service and sent home for a well-deserved rest. However, new troubles awaited him in his hometown. His wife, seeing his condition, quickly packed her bags and left him. Later, João discovered that his ex-wife was having an affair with a small market vendor. After that, she was seen with another man, and then another, a jobless drunkard. Mr. Ferreira went to live with his elderly mother in his village, leading a solitary life. He began drinking but remained in control and helped his mother with household chores, completely neglecting his own appearance. He forgot that many people still judge others by their appearance, so he went to the Department of Motor Vehicles office dressed in worn-out clothes that made him feel comfortable in his village. The locals were already familiar with his old sailor's coat and the scars on his face. After the mayor's visit, both Renata and Patricia were fired, and Mariana was appointed as the head of the DMV office. Although the position came with additional responsibilities and concerns, Mariana accepted the challenge and worked hard to treat the clients well. She assembled a young team, and the DMV office began to operate efficiently. As a result, customers no longer had to wait in long lines, and the staff received positive feedback from satisfied visitors. Mariana's personal life also improved when she met a charming man who worked as a camera operator for a local television station. The journalists visited the DMV to film a report about Mariana in her profession, and the young operator was taken with Mariana's friendly and open demeanor. They went out for a walk after work, and soon after he invited her to the movies. A month later, Mariana and her new boyfriend, Felipe, became inseparable, and her cat, which had previously been destructive out of boredom. On Memorial Day, Mariana and her friends, including Felipe, who was filming a report for the evening news, attended an event together. Mariana was invited as the guest of honor and was recognized as the best social worker. On stage, she spotted a distinguished man in full uniform. His chest was adorned with medals and decorations, and Mariana recognized him as João Ferreira, a brave hero. Seeing him made her heart swell with pride. Today, the hero gave an emotional speech to the community, sharing his life story and modestly recounting his achievements. He spoke about how he had fulfilled his duties and served his country, not for the medals, but because it was the right thing to do. He emphasized that the most important thing is to be human, acknowledging that not everyone can put themselves at risk or sacrifice for others. For him, the epitome of honesty and integrity was a kind and lovely girl who reached out to him when everyone else turned their backs. When João's name was announced, Mariana watched as the hero extended an invitation for her to join him on the podium. With the help of others, she climbed the stage, and the entire city erupted in applause as the distinguished guest presented her with a beautiful bouquet of vibrant roses. Felipe captured the moment on camera, and that evening, while watching the news, Felipe said to Mariana with excitement that she shouldn't doubt his sincere and true love for her. "Why?" Mariana asked. "Just look at how beautiful you look on screen, like a movie star," he replied. "When they say the camera loves someone, it means the operator is captivated by the person they're filming." Mariana laughed and said, "Felipe, you're flattering me. On screen, I may seem like a movie star, but in real life, I'm just an ordinary person." Felipe embraced his beloved, gazed into her eyes and whispered, "In real life, you are 100 times more beautiful." As we wrap up today's video, we hope you found the story as inspiring and touching as we did. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what you learned from today's content, so please share your insights in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated with more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.